Shut up and sit down.
Hello everybody, this is Tacros from Area 52, and this is the first of a series of Terran Empire Guild events where I'm going to cover each class in detail, but not too much detail. It's definitely going to be a 101 class, to give you a taste of each class and what they're about, what their different specs are, and see if you might want to make one yourself. So in this class, I'm going to talk about the Paladin tonight, and the different specs that you can do as a Paladin. So this is my guy. This is Tacros himself, and he's a Zandalari Troll Paladin. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Protection Spec tonight. So that's the one I'm currently in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back and forth between the game and a short presentation I've made, and just a nice little splash page, let you know what we're into here, and I'll make this available online as well. Okay, so let's get into it. Protection Spec. I tried to give you a little taste of what each one's about if you're into the roleplay aspect of it. So the Protection Spec is a holy warrior who combines holy magic and a shield to defend themselves and their allies. Pretty much the resources, it's going to be the same for all three specs of the Paladin. You have Holy Power and Mana. So Mana works just like every other class that has Mana. And Holy Power, you have anywhere from 1 to 5 points that you build up from using Holy Power builder abilities. And then you have abilities that become available once you have so much Holy Power to spend. They just reintroduced Holy Power in Shadowlands. It was taken away for a while, now it's back. And I personally, I'm feeling it. It feels pretty good. I like having that counter on my screen that lets me know, when abilities are going to be ready, and I can anticipate it better than just having charges like it was before. And then as far as damage reduction goes, you have a ability called Shield of the Righteous. It's this purple ability here, and Shield of the Righteous is one that once you build up 3 Holy Power, you can hit that. It is not on a global cooldown, which is really nice, so you can actually weave that in between global cooldowns and not have to waste an action putting that on yourself. It's not only does it give you an armor boost, it also does an AoE attack to everyone in front of you. And as far as I know, it doesn't even have a count on the number of targets it can hit. So you get an AoE attack, and you get extra armor damage reduction, and it's not on global cooldown. It's awesome. So I'll talk about that in a minute during the rotation, as far as when you should use that. For healing, a Paladin has a ton of healing options, depending on how bad you're hurt or what the incoming amount of healing is. But the one that you're going to rely on the most is going to be Word of Glory, and it's not over here. I'll show it to you in a second. And you have a heal that costs 3 Holy Power for an instant boost, and I love that it's instant. Makes it real easy to heal yourself. And then you also you can cast that on other people on your team. So if you're doing fine as the tank, and you have a partner that's running with you, and they are suffering, or even their pet, if their pet is tanking something and taking most of the damage, you can spend your Holy Power on healing that pet if there's not someone else in the group that can do that. So that's nice. And then if you have a really big problem with damage, like let's say in PvP you get swarmed all of a sudden, and you really just want to last a little bit longer, you can blow Lay on Hands, and you instantly go back to 100%. So you wait till you get really low, or just as you come out of stun, just hit that button, and you're back at 100%, and it's like an extra life. But it's on a really long cooldown. It's like 10 minutes. So you're not going to be able to use it often, but it is it's an extra life when you need it. Okay, so then the basic rotation, you're going to be throwing your shield a lot, okay? And that's going to be the one thing you're going to see me doing a lot. And any ability that gives you the power to hit more people with that shield just makes this thing insane. Especially in Battle for Azeroth, they gave us some Azerite abilities that let us extend the number of targets to the point where it goes from instead of just hitting like 3 or 4 people, I've got it up to 7, and it's pretty nice to be able to just throw it into a group and aggro everything. And there's one other thing about Avenger Shield: it silences everyone that it hits. So it forces all these casters to come running straight at you if it's PvE, and in PvP you can just cause chaos in a group of enemy casters and just silence them all, and then just run in and beat them to death. So that's how I suggest using it. The one thing about being a protection paladin is that you definitely need to be standing in your consecration at all times. Okay, so if consecration is not on the ground, that's what you're casting. If you're not in it, you need to be. If you can't be in it, you need to cast a new consecration. That's pretty much it. Just keep it on all the time. And then judgment. Cast judgment every time it comes up. It is your number one button besides Avenger Shield. So that's your 2. Just use them every time they come up. Anytime you don't have other things to do, you can use Hammer of the Righteous, or if you talent take the special talent, I think it turns it into Blessed Hammer, which is very entertaining to use. Blessed Hammer allows you to send hammers out in a spiral. If you've ever played Diablo 2, the Paladin had that ability in there as well, and they would sling hammers everywhere. So a lot of fun. But Hammer of the Righteous is pretty cool too, but it is your filler button. Then you have another hammer called Hammer of Wrath. It is our execute as a Paladin. So at 20%, anytime whatever you're fighting, it gets to 20%, smash that button. It lights up, smash it. It is a ranged execute. You can do this from 30 yards away. And so you, in PvP, especially in like an Alterac Valley Epic Battleground type thing, if you're scanning over the health bars of the group, in front of you of enemies, look for those people whose health are going down really quickly. And as soon as you see them hit 20%, just execute them from 30 yards. Easy kills. And something else you can do is combine that with your stun ability, Hammer of Justice, I think. And if you get them stunned when they're at about 50%, and then burn them down real quick to 30% while they're or 20% while they're stunned, then you can just finish them off with an execute usually. So great ability. And that's pretty much it. That's what you're going to do as a Paladin, and I'll show it to you in just a second. When we're trying to get rid of holy power, all those things that we're doing up there are building holy power, and when we want to get rid of it, we're going to use 2 abilities. We're going to use Shield of the Righteous, which is right over here, and like I said earlier, it gives you armor, and it does an AoE in front of you. You're going to use that anytime you have 5 holy power and you don't need to heal. Okay, so basically you never want to get caught with not enough holy power to use Word of Glory, which is your instant heal. You never want to get caught without holy power when you need it, especially in PvP. I very rarely use Shield of the Righteous because I always want to hoard my holy power for instant healing. And so that's what I suggest you do. If you get to 50% health, and honestly, I mean, that's kind of what the online people are saying. I start healing myself at about 60-70%. Because I like to know it tops me off and I can be comfortable again. But that's the idea here. Use Word of Glory whenever you're damaged. Save your holy power for that. But if you have 5, any other holy power you get is just going to get wasted. It doesn't bank or anything. So blow it on Shield of the Righteous any chance you get. And that'll help smooth out damage. Mobility, we've got Divine Steed. It's a really fast sprint. Where you actually ride a steed, where you ride a racial mount for about 30 yards or so, and it's pretty nice. And you can talent it to be even better than that. So, and the fun part is that anything that you run through enemies in PvP or PvE, they get flung everywhere. They get thrown everywhere. And then we got some cool defensive cooldowns, 2 or 3 of them, actually like more like 4 or 5 of them, based on how severe the incoming damage is, and I'll show you how I lay that out in a second. And then as far as rat goes, it's all strength plate. Okay, so let's get into it. What I want to do is I'm going to just kind of go into a LFR raid. I'm going to go into the Tomb of Sargeras, the Gates of Hell. Start at the beginning of the place, and I'm just going to show you a boss fight real quick in a place where I won't embarrassingly die, and but I can actually show off some of the abilities. So this is me using Divine Steed right here. Press it, and you ride a racial mount for about 20-30 yards, and that's it. And I have 2 of them right now because of the cooldown, or because I talented it. I'm able to do it twice in succession. You can do that too, but there are some other talents that might be better. I'm just doing that for convenience sake right now. You also have something else as a speed boost. If you want to use one of your PvP talent slots, you can use Blessing of Freedom. And well, for some reason this doesn't work in dungeons, but if you use Blessing of Freedom and you use the PvP talent that enhances it, it also becomes a 30% speed boost for a few seconds as well. So I just weave those back and forth, and I can pretty much move, however I need to. Okay, so we got these 3 guys here, 3 trash, 1 boss, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of do the first one as an introduction here. I'm going to throw my shield at him, and it just hits him, bounces back, then I'm going to judge him. I need to drop my consecration because I should always be in consecration, and then my shield lit up again, so I'm going to hit him with that. And then the last thing I'm going to do to kill him is throw my executing hammer at him. That's it. That's pretty much the thing. Now you can see I have 5 holy power here built up. It's kind of like rage and other things where it'll slowly disintegrate. I'll lose 1 and then it'll start going down, and that's so what you want to do is just try to keep the momentum going and not lose too much of it. I do have the artifact where I can throw a couple of big fireballs at them, so Crucible of Flame, and so that's what I'm doing. And then I want to get over to this other guy really fast, so I'm going to get over here and drop my consecration and just start wailing on him. I could do Shield of the Righteous. We can try to stun him, but he's not stunnable. That's pretty much it. You're going to sit here and do that. So now let's, these guys don't show you a full rotation, so let's work on the boss here. I'm going to start this fight off with the offensive cooldown that we have, Avenging Wrath. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit that now, and just to get myself a little boost when the fight begins, and then I'm going to throw my shield at him. And as he gets to me and we're all settled, I'm going to drop my consecration and start my rotation here. I'll throw my shield, fill it in with the Hammer of the Righteous, drop my consecration because I've moved, and just kind of work it back and forth and put in a Shield of the Righteous anytime there's a chance to do it. That's pretty much it. We're going to kind of go through this. If you have to move because of things like this, then do what you got to do. And then when it's done, get back in your consecration and keep rolling. And then let's say you need to heal, you throw your Word of Glory, and that's it. Now, I also have 2 other abilities. I have my Ardent Defender down here that reduces damage I take by 20% for 8 seconds. That's pretty nice. I could do that if I start taking a lot of damage. Believe it or not, this boss can put a debuff on me called Molten Armor that can start melting me, and I will have to use a cooldown. But Guardian of Ancient Kings does 50% for 8 seconds. So we've got a 20%, a 50%, and then we've got the good old signature Divine Shield for the Paladin, which does a full pally bubble, and you lose all aggro, so don't do it as a tank. Unless you're tank swapping, that's it. That's the only time it's acceptable. So that's it. That's the different thing. So I pressed it, and you can see I have a bubble around me right now. And only because I'm the only person left in the room, it's the only reason he's still attacking me. But let's say I wanted to use the other 2 as well. This is what they look like. So now I have a 50 and a 20% buff on at the moment. And that's pretty much it. So this is the Protection Paladin. All right. Now we're in the 20% range on this boss. I can start weaving in Execute. And you'll see it come up again. Hammer of Wrath. Boom, throw it at him, and he starts taking a good bit of damage. And that's it. So I'm going to come up here and finish him off real quick, see what kind of loot we got. Boom. And now I'm going to ride back to get over to him real quick. All right. Some nice stuff. No transmogs, though. Okay. So that's my little Paladin demo. And I'm going to talk about Holy real quick and speed this part up a little bit for you. So the things I want to tell you about Holy without going through all of this detail again, like I did just a second ago, the things I want to tell you about Holy is that it's the opposite as far as resources are concerned when it comes to the protection. With protection, mana is like a second thought. You barely ever use your mana, and Holy powers everything. In this case, I think it's almost backwards. Its mana is your key resource. As a Holy Paladin, you have to watch it. Your abilities use a lot of mana, and you just need to pay attention to that. But your Holy Power is going to give you 2 extra healing abilities that are good, and they are going to be part of your rotation and everything. But mana is a critical thing and could cripple you if you're not paying attention to it. So that we need to talk about that. That's about it. You have just the same abilities, some shields and stuff, just like the Paladin does to keep yourself protected. You have Divine Steed as your mobility, and then we're going to get into the good stuff here, using your actual abilities. Okay, so if you want to come back and read this presentation later, you totally can. But for now, I'm going to jump right into the demo for this. So I've got us a whole new spec set up just for that. So let's do it. All right, so this is my Holy spec. And what we're going to do is we're going to just use this training dummy here in front of us as a team member that we want to heal. Okay. Now, something I didn't mention while I was on my protection Paladin was, I have my primary bar down here that I'm using. I should have talked about this first. I have my primary bar where I keep all of my buttons. If you're wondering why it's in a square instead of laid out flat, it's because I have a mouse where those buttons are laid out like that. So these are the buttons that I press with my mouse. I don't have to click them or anything. So these down here are my 1, 2, 3, 4s. On my keyboard so that I can use my buffs. So all my buffs are on my 1, 2, 3, 4s, and everything else is on my mouse. And then these over here, I have some extra keys on my keyboard that I'm using for those. Also, I have my mounts over here bound, and for the Paladin specifically, I have my steed on mouse press or mouse wheel click. So when I click my mouse wheel, my steed I instantly summon it and I get my charge. So that way I don't have to keep it on a bar or anything. One less button I have to deal with in my life. And then I actually have where I can tilt my mouse wheel to the right, and it gives me Blessing of Freedom, which gives me that little 30% speed boost when I have it spec'd out like that. When I tilt my mouse wheel to the left, I taunt whenever I'm fighting. So then, again, I don't have to keep taunt or any of that junk cluttering up my primary 12 buttons. Something else we need to talk about on the Paladin is the auras. All 3 specs right now have the same auras. We are going to get another aura in Shadowlands. It's called the Concentration Aura. Let's see if I can pull it up for you. This one right here. So how auras work is everyone within 40 yards of you that are in your raid or your party or anything get the benefit of this aura, and it's on all the time. So anyone that's within 40 yards of you, you are just buffing them as a Paladin. And you get to choose between 4 of them. I'll show you the other 3, but I'm just going to tell you now, as a Holy Paladin, and maybe even as the other specs of a Paladin, this Concentration Aura that makes interrupt and silence effects 30% shorter is going to be a game changer in PvP, and pretty much everybody's going to want that. So that's probably going to be your main PvP aura. Right now in PvP, I like to run this Crusader aura that actually gives everybody 20% more mount speed, especially in capturing the flag and stuff like that. Definitely helps with that type of thing. If you want, as a tank, I usually run the Devotion aura that gives you 3% damage reduction across the board, but it also gives it to everyone else within 40 yards. So you can run that if you have, if you're, maybe even if you're struggling as a group, you can use that as well in PvE. And then Retribution aura, I will talk about when we do Retribution Spec in a minute. This one, every time someone in your group dies, which is every second in PvP, like in an epic battleground, you get the Avenging Wrath buff for a free 8 seconds. When that's normally on a 2-minute cooldown, it gives you 30% damage, 30% healing, and 30% critical strike chance for 8 seconds every time somebody dies in your group. It's great. It's great. So take a look at that if you want to use that in PvP. Now, most of the time in PvE, hopefully your people aren't dropping enough for that to be a benefit for you. The Avenging Wrath, you can use this as a healer too and get 30% more healing and 30% crit on your healing. So that's something that's pretty awesome, and I wouldn't shy away from that, So you can blow it and all your heals are just going to be that much better. Now I'm doing this from far away right now. I'm actually doing it as if I was a healer, just healing someone. But the thing about a healing paladin is that we're made to do this in the melee. Okay, so get up there and beat something. You can holy shock the thing that you're fighting, or you can holy shock your team member over here, and or yourself. It works as a damage and a heal. And then every time you get a free proc of Flash of Light, then you can stop to spend that. Okay, but you should always be judging someone. It builds up your holy power. Now, when you get your holy power built up as a healer, you're going to use either Word of Glory, which we've talked about already. It's your instant heal that uses 3 holy power, or you build up some more holy power, and then you can use Light of Dawn, which is a giant cone in front of you, 15 yards, and heals everyone in front of you. So that's a really cool ability as well. So you're going to be basically, as a healer, you're going to be trying to throw as many holy shocks and as many Lights of Dawn as possible. Every time Flash of Light procs, you're going to cast it too. But as you can see, when it doesn't proc, it's a bit slower. So do it when it procs. You also have Beacon of Light, where you wrap an ally in holy energy, causing your heals on other party members to give them 50% of the healing as well. So it's like healing 2 people at once. Okay, so you could put the Beacon of Light on yourself, and then start healing someone else, and you're going to get 50% of that. Okay, so that's kind of nice too. You can keep yourself alive, keep someone else alive at the same time. That's how that works. If you're wondering what this ability is, because it's not really part of the holy pile, this is Holy Prism. It's a talent I chose, and it gives us another healing that fires a beam of light, and it scatters to other targets. So it's kind of like a chain lightning for healing. Okay. As a healer, you have Divine Protection, where you have this little shield on you, and it protects you for 8 seconds, 20% damage reduction. The auras I talked about earlier, you can press Aura Mastery, and it empowers the aura that you have on. So, whatever aura you're using, it gives it a little bit more of effectiveness. So if it's normally 8 seconds of Wrath, it's probably 10 seconds of Wrath. Instead of 3, it might be 5% damage reduction. It might be 25% mount speed instead. And I'm saying might because I'm not actually sure how much it increases. So that's it. That's the other one, the Pally Bubble. You still have that. You're not going to use Consecration very much at all as a Holy Paladin. Okay, it's not even part of the primary rotation or anything like that. Okay, so that is my Holy Paladin presentation. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, well, first we're going to get out of combat. Then we are going to flip to Retribution Spec. Okay, so say hello to my Retribution guy. Retribution Paladin. So I'm going to just go back to the same training dummy, and before we get into this, let's talk about it for a minute. Alright, so Retribution. We got a Righteous Crusader who judges and punishes opponents with a two-handed weapon and holy magic. Same thing, this is a lot like Protection, okay? Retribution Paladin is your DPS spec, but you're going to be using holy power just as much as you did on a Protection spec, and mana is just a secondary resource for you, okay? So it's all about the holy power with Retribution. You are going to have an ability called Shield of Vengeance that you can use right here for your shield. It just gives you a damage reduction shield, and you can, hit it every time it's on cooldown or when you need it, that type of thing. You are primarily going to be healing yourself with flashes of light. So you saw on the Paladin demo how Flash of Light was proccing on certain events. Well, it happens the same way as a Retribution Paladin. So every time you use a Holy Power ability, you get a stack, and once you get 4 stacks, then you get a free Flash of Light, basically. So that's what's happening here. You cast 4 Holy Power abilities like Divine Storm or Templar's Verdict. These are your 2 Holy Power burners. So every time you cast 4 of any of these, then you're going to get a free Flash of Light healing for yourself. Okay? The basic rotation for this is going to be Wake of Ashes, Blade of Justice, Judgment, which is in everyone's toolkit as a Paladin, and then this Crusader Strike here. And then, of course, we're going to execute at 20% for Hammer of Wrath, and we're going to be using these abilities to blow our holy power. And the difference between the two is Templar's Verdict is our single target, and Divine Storm is our AoE. It kind of looks exactly like the little swirling balls behind the sword there. And that's pretty much what I covered over here. The mobility is also the same as the other ones. You're going to use Divine Steed mainly, and then you have the same defensive abilities, especially Shield of Vengeance. And you're back to Strength Plate. So I don't know if I mentioned that before, but Holy was Intellect Plate. They're the only one that's Intellect specific. And then the other 2 are both Strength, okay? So let's get into it. So I'm going to run up to this guy here, and we're just going to get started in melee, okay? So I started with Wake of Ashes, then I used Blade of Justice, and I've already got a ton of Holy Power because Wake of Ashes generates 3 Holy Power by itself, okay? And then I hit Blade of Justice and got another 2 Holy Power, so I'm full. I shouldn't even press anything else until I press this Templar's Verdict. So that's what we're going to do, and then it just gives them a big whack. And then I hit Blade of Justice again, and I'm back to 4, and I'm doing it again. Judgment, Crusader Strike, everything just to keep building up holy power to keep getting more Templar's Verdicts. That's all we're doing here, okay? And look, I did enough to get a free Flash of Light healing, so boom. And it's instant because we did 4 holy powers. The downside, see, Judgment is good enough to say use it on cooldown, okay? That's absolutely true. It's super strong, and it's in every one of the rotations. They even tell the Holy Paladin to judge everything. But Crusader Strike and Hammer of the Righteous, if you're a Paladin, if you're a Protection Paladin, those are really just filler buttons. I only use them when there's absolutely nothing else to press, okay? And then that's Divine Storm, the big swirly one. Let's assume that we're fighting 2 or 3 things now, so we can just use Divine Storm every time we build up our Holy Power instead. That's what we're doing. And you can move around if you want to, as you fight. Most fights you're just going to be standing still, right? So do what you got to do. You can jump around or whatever. All of our abilities are instant, so it's not like we have to worry too much about it. Let's say that this is a boss, and there's some AOE problems. I mean, not AOE problems, but stuff on the floor or anything like that, and you need to get away from the guy. So you can just divine steed away real quick, handle it, and then get right back in if you need to, or use Blessing of Freedom to get back in the action real quick. I wouldn't, just make sure you start getting used to the distance that Divine Steed goes, or maybe macro the button to when you press it again, remove the buff, and then that way you can toggle it on and off and maybe stop it short if you need to. So, okay, here's the one thing about Retribution that you definitely need to remember. Avenging Wrath is your number one ability, your number one cooldown, your number one buff. Okay, 2 minutes when that thing comes available, I want it on. That is, it's a game changer. It makes your abilities just constantly spew out holy power. I don't know if you can see, but almost every other button is now an ability, a holy power driver. So that's the idea here. Each holy power spent during Crusade increases damage done and haste by 3%, and you begin a Crusade increasing your damage and haste by 3% for 25 seconds. So you could get up to 30% haste and damage increase using Crusade. If you need to heal or do a barrier, you can, for damage. This is an actual shield, so you can see over here I've got a almost 6k shield beside my health bar, and that's what Shield of Vengeance does. It just gives you kind of like a discipline priest shield. It's just a little bit flashier. So that's your main ability there. You can also lay on hands if you just need to instantly heal yourself back up. It's a 7-minute cooldown. That's what it was, not 10. You also have a cool ability as a Ret Paladin, where you can reduce someone's movement speed by 70% for 10 seconds. That's pretty awesome in PvP, and that could be a lot of fun to mess with people. And then there's the, like I told you earlier, the Hammer of Justice, which is the primary stun, is really great too, and it's on a 1-minute cooldown. But you can talent to make every ability that you do make that cooldown faster. So watch that cooldown on that. It's already down to 30 seconds, 23 just for me pressing one button. See here, 12. That's you can end up basically getting it to almost a 30-second stun. And the stun is 10 yards, and it lasts for 6 seconds. So that's pretty nice, especially in PvP. As far as consecration goes with the Retribution Spec, you will only use it when you have absolutely nothing left to do. And I don't know if you see, but in my rotation, I don't really ever have nothing to do to the point where I'm going to use consecration. Well, there you go. Look at that. So that's it. That's the only time you're ever going to use it, is in the unlikely event that you don't have anything better to do. Okay, so that's my demo of Retribution Spec, Holy Spec, and Protection Spec. We've covered all the bases, at least enough, I think, to give you a good taste of what each one's about. What I didn't cover was the different weapon types that they use. Retribution Spec is the only one that uses a two-handed weapon. Holy and Protection Spec both use one-handed weapons and shields. Okay. And then let's get into the other few things I want to talk about. PvP tactics, okay? I don't know that I can get into a PvP in the few minutes that I have to, in this demo, but I would like to just touch on a few things real quick, okay? As a protection spec, I have a lot of fun being the flag runner. You're almost, with Divine Steed and those rushes of speed, especially when you can get 2 charges of it, and then you put Blessing of Freedom on top of that, you have a really long sprint that you can do. And then that Blessing of Freedom removes all snares that are on you. So if anyone has slowed your speed while you're running across the field, on your Divine Steed, because you do draw a lot of attention, that Blessing of Freedom, when you press it, you get a 30% speed boost, and you remove all your snare effects. So you just fly off, and they're trying to figure out what just happened. So that's great for crossing the field, and especially when you're carrying the flag, you can still use Divine Steed. So it's like the only time you can use a mount and carry the flag at the same time. So that's the nice things about that. The other thing is the Divine Shield. You don't have to worry about dropping aggro on people, so you can Divine Shield anytime you want in PvP. You just have to make sure it isn't within 30 seconds of doing Lay on Hands or the other things that give you that Forbearance debuff. They have a few of your most powerful abilities all on the same cooldown of 30 seconds, so you can't chain them together. And then Avenger Shield. Like I said earlier, if you can get that thing up to where it's hitting 4 or 5 people at a time, throw that thing right into a group of casters, they all get silenced, and just run in and start beating them to death. It's great. And then save your holy power for Word of Glory. Okay, don't waste your holy. You're going to be tempted to, when the Shield of Righteous lights up, to hit it. Don't save it for Word of Glory. Okay. Now let's talk about holy. I showed you what it looks like when you're healing ranged with holy, and you feel like you have gaps. You're like, okay, now what do I do? Because half my abilities are from melee. You should get used to, as a holy paladin, kind of being in the mix, okay? And get in there and get some, get some wax and stuff like that, and you'll end up building a lot more holy power to heal with, okay? And then Retribution is totally close combat dependent. You need to be right there in their face, so don't be afraid to get in there. Target the closest enemy and go to town. But make sure you're using Avenging Wrath or Crusade, whichever one you're using, all the time. And then use Retribution Aura, so that way every time somebody on your team dies in PvP, you're getting an 8-second free Avenging Wrath. And then just burn your holy power on Templar's Verdict if it's a single target you want to kill real quickly, or if you're just trying to Divine Storm a whole group, go for that as well. Divine Shield as needed. Everybody, all 3 specs can use Divine Steed. All 3 specs have Hammer of Justice, which is a great stun, and all 3 specs have that 20% execute that you should be doing on every single person that gets below 20%. Okay? That's my PvP story. The last 2 things I want to cover are the races and the professions that you can do as a Horde Paladin. So these are your racial options. First, I'm going to start with the Blood Elf. Online, from what I've read, this is the meta, so to speak. I don't really subscribe to that. I would say that they're all pretty close and they all have their benefits here. But the reason they like Blood Elf so much is because Arcane Acuity gives you crit, which is big for Holy and Ret, especially Ret. That's their thing. But also you get Arcane Torrent, which helps with mana regeneration and can steal buffs from people as well. Blood Elves are great at enchanting, but unless you just really like enchanting, I don't really suggest that as a profession for a paladin. But if you like enchanting, then that's your thing. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that wouldn't be on my top 3. Zandalari Trolls, I had to do it. I wanted to see what it's like, and so far I'm enjoying it. Their abilities are good no matter what you are, really. The regenerating racial heals you for 100% over 6 seconds. So it's almost like having another Lay on Hands I can use, but I have to plan for it a little better, right? Because I have to have that 6 seconds to heal instead of getting it all back instantly. But that's another full heal that I have at my disposal. I love it. I also like that the Zandalari Trolls can stand upright, and they have some pretty decent like skin effects and cosmetics and things like that, so that's what I chose. They also have that Pterodactyl Swoop or Pterodact Swoop, which is just a free glider every now and then. So if I mess up and fall off something or whatnot, I can press that button quickly and at least glide. Also, fun fact, as a paladin, your Divine Shield, the good one, the long cooldown Divine Shield, this one here, 3.5 minutes, that one you can jump off of anything while you have Divine Shield, and nothing bad will happen. So you can fall any distance as long as you are Divine Shielded. When you hit the ground, you will take 0 damage. So use that to your advantage. Chase someone. If they go off a cliff in PvP and they think they're going to get away, just go driving right after them. You just hit Divine Shield when you hit the bottom and go to town. And then the benefit, little side benefit, is that Zandalari trolls also get extra gold from looting enemies. The last thing is that Terrans are your other option, and they have the most stamina of all the races. So if you're planning on being a protection spec Paladin and you don't mind being a Terran, they are going to have the most stamina, so they're going to be the most hardy of all the 3 options. If you like big plate armor, and big shoulder pads and all that kind of stuff, that's also the class for you. Some of the plate armor, those giant skull heads and stuff, shoulders and type things, they look really great on a Terran. They also get an AoE stun, War Stomp, which is great in PvP or even PvE. I used it all the time before I became a Zandalari troll. I think it's great. That's a great tool to have. And then they get a racial ability called Brawn that gives them crit strike damage and healing. So you're going to get a little extra of both of those. So I mean, it's just kind of great all around for a Paladin. So that's why I didn't really subscribe to Blood Elf being higher than the other 2. I think they all have their merits. Blood Elf, if you want straight crits, I'd say maybe Blood Elf for Ret. Zandalari Troll for protection spec, probably for the extra regeneration, and then the Terran, I would say protection spec or holy. That's how I would go with it. So that's it. That's my racial opinion, and then the alliance races for the Paladins. Just an honorable mention. In case you're somebody watching this that's not Horde specific: Dwarves, Dark Iron Dwarves, Humans, Draenei, and Lightforged Draenei. So the Dwarves and the Draenei of both races get it, plus Humans. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is the optional professions for that complement being a Paladin. And I'm going to go with the top 3. I think I'm going to stick with this theme throughout the other classes as well. So I'm going to go with blacksmithing, alchemy, and engineering as my top 3 suggestions for the Paladin. Okay, and so let's talk about all 3. And I'm just going to say they all 3 have their benefits, and then you decide which one is best for you. Okay. So blacksmithing. The reason I think blacksmithing is one of the top 3 is because as a Paladin, especially as a protection Paladin or holy, part of your kit is a shield. Okay. And being able to make your own shields is very valuable in this game because shields are some of the least dropped items in the game. So, and they're just the least items all around. So, just being able to make your own armor and make your own shields in particular, and even your own weapons for that matter, just makes you a lot more self-sustainable. And it's going to save you a lot of money probably in the long run as well. And then there's some benefits of just being a blacksmith, like stirrups and things like that, being able to open your own lock boxes, that kind of stuff. It works really well with mining, obviously, because you'd be able to farm your own ore and then turn it into gear. Okay. And then alchemy. Alchemy is great because I'm not going to say everyone, but most people in this game are reliant on flasks and elixirs and potions to do the content. And so being able to make that stuff for yourself is a great thing, and not having to buy it in the auction house or beg other people to make it for you or whatever. So get herbalism with it, and you can go farm your own flowers and then turn those into potions and flasks. And if you have extras, you can sell them and make some extra money yourself, because everybody wants that stuff. But the big thing about alchemy is the trinkets. Alchemy in every expansion has had a series of trinkets that you kind of level up yourself, so you can take it as far as you want to go. And the challenges just get harder and harder to take it to a new item level. But the trinkets are always competitive. They're always usually in the top 10 trinkets for the expansions. Okay, so definitely consider that, because trinkets are also one of the things that are pretty hard to get your hands on. Or in my experience, I feel like they're from some of the harder bosses and raids and whatnot. So, being able to make your own trinkets is just one less thing you have to worry about. And I say it's great for raiding in particular if you're a raiding person, because you can make your own flasks and everything. Okay, and then the last one, engineering. The reason I put engineering in here is because of the utility of it, and a little bit of chaos. If you're that kind of person and you like the randomness of things, in the D&D case, like the Rod of Wonder, that's what I'm thinking here. They do a lot of random effects, the things that you build with engineering, okay? Or sometimes they backfire, sometimes they do extra things, But they have a ton of useful items that you can make as an engineer. Explosives for offensive. You can add things to your gear, like turn your cloak into a glider, or put rocket boots on for speed boost, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. They even have teleporters to places you can't teleport normally. But the biggest thing about engineering is that they make their own goggles, which is a whole series of transmogs that you can't get access to unless you are an engineer. But they make a whole series of goggles. It doesn't matter what class you are, plate, cloth, whatever. And they're almost always the top 10 goggles, or top 10 headpieces for the expansion. So again, it's one less item slot you have to worry about. Make your own gear, and if you like having goggles, they make some crazy looking transmogs. You'd want mining if you go engineering, so that you can again farm your own metals and turn those into engineering items. And honorable mention, other options include jewel crafting and inscription. Jewel crafting, make your own gems, put them in your items. That's great. It may even be more useful in Shadowlands. I just don't feel like it's one of the top 3. That's all. And inscription, same way. Glyphs are great, but they're mainly cosmetic. The other items that an inscriptionist make don't really apply to a paladin, and so that's pretty much why I said that. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of go through this last little thing. I want to give credit where credit is due here. The information that was contained in this presentation is from personal experience and online guides, and I really want to do a special thanks to Wowhead and Icy Veins for their well-written guides and detailed information, because that's where a lot of this is coming from, okay? So that's it. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it, and stay tuned next time. I'm going to do the Druid Showcase intro class in 2 weeks. Talk to you later.